Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of The Whip, the We Have Interviews podcast. I am your host, Brenden, GM of the eMLB's Baltimore Orioles. Joining me today is Kenny Lindberg, the GM of the Atlanta Braves. Kenny, how you doing tonight?
Doing good. Thanks for having me on.
I'm really happy to have you on because we hear a lot from the same GMs, like the same guys who are always on the pods, always doing the pods. It's really awesome to get a guy who we don't hear a lot from on the show.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. It's trying to find my way in more, but times aren't necessarily my friend all the time. So
Well, unfortunately, real life comes before eMLB. Sometimes I wish we could switch that.
me too. I wouldn't have a problem with that at all.
All right, well, why don't you tell the people here, me and the audience, a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. So currently residing in Florida, grew up a Pirates fan. Little hard to wear the Atlanta A, even if it's just in a few videos here when getting out there in the world of eMLB, but the early '90s bit rough for me. But that is what it is. But happy I'm down here in Florida now. I'm minutes from spring training, quite literally. I got a team right down the road, but so catch a lot of different teams in March, and then of course the real new MLB rules. I'll get to see basically everyone in a rolling period, so that'll be kind of cool, close to the Tampa area as well. But been into baseball as long as I can remember, quite literally anything. Worked in baseball for about 7 years before relocating to Florida. Starting with the Detroit Tigers, I was with their AA team in Erie, PA. And then that was while I was in college as like a little summer gig. And then graduation, went into short season ball. Pirates Nationals over 2013, 2014. So being around the Pirates organization when they broke the streak, pretty cool, not going to lie, especially as a Pirates fan.
Yeah.
And then, so 14, I was with the Nationals, watched them, run to their division before that whole team splintered off. And then spent a year and a half in the Seattle area with the Mariners short A affiliate just north of Seattle. So did a lot of that, but you get tired of moving. I wasn't on the glory side. I was trying to sell stuff. It's not as easy in minor leagues, and especially in low A, when they see, especially like a Seattle where you're got the Seahawks, anything and everything. You got major college right there too. So it was a ride. It was a grind. Got to meet and see a lot of great players, the ones that are showing out on the big stage. I'm trying to remember. I'm not sure if I know anyone that met and worked with anyone in the WBC, but definitely have dealt with a handful of major leaguers along the way. And so it's kind of cool working in that world, especially in the minors, where you see them at the beginning.
And it's a little less refined. You get to you almost think that, are you meeting them more as people when you do meet them rather than big name players?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So it's like someone like, for example, an Adam Frazier who's never been like a top flight player.
Mm-hmm.
I could have told you in 2013 when I'm working for the Jamestown Jammers, the short A affiliate of the Pirates. I could have told you that kid was going to be in the majors. Like, you can just kind of see the makeup, and once you start to learn what those scouts are looking at, because short A ball, they're there all the time, and well, before the game, they got time to kill, so they were gracious enough to talk. And I can say that with not just as a fan, but in Jamestown, the Pirates organization as a whole, that was their first of 2 years they were there before that team relocated down to West Virginia. They were always gracious with their times. The manager had a rule that if any person, it doesn't matter, child or adult, autograph hawk or not, the players had to sign every single autograph that was asked of them.
Really?
That's not common. So we're getting Austin Meadows with the Pirates at that year. That was the year him and Reese McGuire were their 2 first-round picks. We'd have guys come down and rehab. The farm director was aware of the rule and actually caught one of the rehab guys not signing. So, yeah, that wasn't fun. And they made it. Actually, the farm director made a scene about that one in the little bit afterwards, just trying to stress the importance of it. But, and Washington got, honestly, they were still, before they went to the new complex, I got a tour of their whole spring setup over in Vieira, Florida, before they moved south, their old complex. And, it's just fun. You'll work with these. It's not necessarily the player relationships you like. It's just seeing the game and letting them pull the curtain back and, kind of expect to see the workouts that are not the glorified parts of it. But, been pretty lucky with that. And I've just always been into baseball. Got into OOTP a few years back, never really dove deep into it, more just to run some sims to see if I could ever turn like Twitter with a player. Now I have a whole team with my player. So it's been a journey, but baseball definitely been front and center along the way personally. And well, now I'm trying to win what was it, as Rob Manfred said, a hunk of metal. So that virtual hunk of metal I want to win.
Hopefully this year Attica will get his wish and we will have an actual hunk of metal to send to whoever wins the World Series, and maybe it'll be you.
Hey, you never know. That's what the goal, I think, for everyone was.
Every single season, unless of course you are the Marlins, in which case it is to be number 1 in attendance.
There you go.
Well, we'll ask you a little bit about we'll ask about eMLB now, because you've had a pretty interesting journey. A lot of guys get their team and stay on their team. You were not recruited into the league as the Atlanta GM. You were originally recruited to be Danny Smith's replacement in Oakland.
Yeah, that was something that drawn up a pretty comprehensive rebuilding plan and figuring when to strike and build things up, and was on the way. And then sometimes opportunities present themselves, and that's how I found my way to Atlanta.
I'm going to ask you, what was your initial feeling when getting to Oakland? Was it like, oh God, this is a mess, or hey, this is exciting, I could try to build something here?
I mean, honestly, I loved the fact it was a mess. There was, very little direction on the major league side of what was going to happen. They had some nasty contracts, but nothing with how many baseline minor league or major league minimum contracts they had that was really going to be a problem. And there were some very strong pieces that I could flip if I needed to. One, of course, which I now have back, and like a John Duplantier, traded him off. Didn't really want to in Oakland, but let's be real, I got a team that I don't even remember if they hit 50 last year. It was in real rough shape, and it just didn't make sense. So it's just basically started like any new GM to a dumpster fire, for a lack of a better term, of an organization who takes over. Let's build up the farm, and then might be a 2, 3, 4 year project before I'm fighting at the upper echelons of the of the division. But definitely had a plan in place and was in the process of continuing to execute that plan. Thought I had a good rebuild of the farm system well underway, and that was my main goal, because I knew the wins weren't going to necessarily be there in the in the majors. And then kind of started a preliminary plan, if you will, for what I was plotting for like an expansion draft, because I think either right before or right after it was hey, we're going to have an expansion draft in the offseason. I'm like, well, the major league pieces I'll expose, or the 40-man pieces I can expose, will contracts. And, so I was really drawing that up, and I probably spent, outside of watching the streams when Kamish goes live, I was probably spending, I don't know, a couple hours a week on just plotting, because I wanted to turn it around quick. And well, another problem with wanting to turn it around quick in Oakland is money.
Oh yeah.
So that was a bit rough, but hey, we had a plan, was comfortable with that plan, and Kamish like, hey, we have someone that wants this, and it was kind of about the same time the Aiden flipped over to the Rays. He's like, well, Atlanta's available, and I mean, it wasn't it wasn't really a sure thing that many people maybe think, because of, big market, plenty of money to play with. I was really excited to build that project up, and at the end of the day, it was just the ability to make a better play to be competitive. And I mean, that's hard just to turn down. And I found my way over to the Braves, and well, trying to now put a new plan into process.
It's always a work in process here. Atlanta really is the complete and total opposite of the situation you found yourself in Oakland. Big market versus small market, lots of money versus no money, a major league roster with much more talent on it, but also a farm system that had been depleted by the outgoing GM in an attempt to be competitive. And obviously the team wasn't. The team ended up having a losing season. I can't remember their exact record, but you were in the seventh. I believe the win total was in the 70s each of the last 2 years. So the full season with Aiden at the helm, and the partial season with him and you.
So wasn't quite. I was hoping to get a little closer, but it just didn't work out that way at the end.
Oh, the unfortunate thing about baseball is there's a winner and there's a loser, and sometimes you lose more often than you'd like to, even when all the pieces say that you should be winning, and vice versa. What was your initial expectation when you got to the team? Like, were you looking at this going, oh yeah, I can make this team competitive in a year, I just need the time? Were you thinking like, I need to maybe try to rebuild the farm system?
I think with Atlanta, honestly, it was a bit of both. Just kind of was seeing how the end of the season played out, because I immediately jumped into a whole different situation where, in theory, not out of it, but there was no real move to be made that would have completely shifted the fortunes.
Mm-hmm.
So just kind of played it out. Took it to the off season, and then, well, had some money to spend, so try and fortify some pitching, get a little additional help, and I think I did that kind of at all three levels, so that was definitely a good thing.
And I do want to talk to you about your off-season moves, because you spent a lot of money. Look at your payroll here. The Atlanta payroll this year, according to the finances sheet in the Out of Park reports, says that you have a payroll of $211.5 million this year. That's 5th in the league, with a budget that is only 12th. Big moves. You re-signed Max Fried to a 2-year, $34.6 million deal. You re-signed Freddie Freeman to a 3-year, $75.6 million deal. You brought on Forrest Whitley, 6-year, $123, and then made a trade for Estevan Florial with that much on his contract remaining, 3 years, 75 and a half. These are some big moves to be making. Like, these are loud, these are out there moves. While you didn't necessarily do it in bulk, you definitely got attention with the Forrest Whitley signing as being like a big player in free agency, even if there weren't a whole lot of big contracts doled out.
Yeah.
Do you feel like the aggressive strategy is going to pay off for you this year?
I mean, ideally, or why do it? Whitley was simple. Was I didn't feel like I had a top flight ace, ace in the rotation. So went threw an offer out there, and it was the one to get it done. Not a good first game, of course, but
Yeah.
not really worried about games in April. I'm worried
No.
about games hopefully in September, October, the end of the end of the eMLB 27 season. And that was a big thing with him. I think another one that was brought up was the Florial deal. That one, working with Portland on those, it wasn't necessarily, that's going to be the headline grabber getting Florial there, but in a kind of a second separate but included deal was the Luzardo deal, which I just like the body work and the frame on him. So Florial helps with the he helps with the outfield depth that I can run him through. Maybe the price point a little bit higher than I've liked it to be with his contract, but I'm not the one that signed it, but he's another good piece that should be able to help me down the stretch. Because let's be real, if anyone knows anything about baseball, injuries tend to happen often and at the most inopportune times. That was another look, like signing not only that, the re-signing of Freeman, but also fortified first base with Anthony Rizzo.
Mm-hmm.
So I got the Rizzo Freeman bromance, if you will, actually playing out in real life on eMLB right now. So,
which is a storyline we all needed.
and with that, it's just trying to have those contingency plans when things go awry. Like, Freeman goes down for any length of time, I have someone set up to go until the prospects I have at first base are ready. Middle and third base are going to be maybe a work in progress, but I mean, there's still some depth there as well. So
you say prospects like there's multiple we need to be watching at first base.
So there is one that's catching some eyes there on that nice Fire Frogs logo. Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely excited to continue to build him up. It's going to be probably a process one that, I probably won't build as aggressive as some of the other GMs that have their players, just because, well, I'm not going to be able to drop in, as much on guys. But
yeah,
another reason in getting that 2 solid first base options,
mm-hmm.
where I can build him up, and maybe the plan and the track record with him has to follow more of a small market minded in real life, organization. Whereas, I'd love to have him up right away. I know there's people that plays him up right away, but it might take another, 1-2 years for him to mature to that level, which coincidentally is right when the Freeman contract expires. So did try and plot that a little bit better, where there's hopefully will be that year of overlap, but if not, hey, it I can go I guess I'll have to go fishing if it doesn't pan out the way kind of ideally projected, but that's not a problem. But a lot of those moves had people outgoing too, that, like, for example, with the deal with Portland, that Florial and to a lesser extent Luzardo, which turned into 2 just because of the sheer volume of players going each way. Giving up Corey Ray was not something I necessarily wanted to do, because he was one who had a higher term on it, So, maybe could have flipped between, and I might have been able to sneak through to AAA, where instead of carrying, um, you know, but hey, sometimes you get an option that is what you need for your current makeup, and that happened, and then got a rotation. I was actually going 5 or 6 deep this year because I think I have Duplantier coming out of my bullpen right now as kind of that long swings type starter.
You're taking the words out of my mouth here. I actually had that written down because I wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah, so ideally, it's once again just going off that data, just trying to cover the bases. So maybe a little thinner than normal bullpen with how some people look at it. I know a few GMs that like to have a more heavily staffed bullpen. Maybe a less, 1 or 2 less on the bench. But how the team dynamic pulled out, I had the lineup and where I had the extra bench spot, so I went the hitter rather than the pitcher. But if I take injury, there's I got guys in Gwinnett ready to go with the the next time around.
Depth is always really important, and I do like that here. Maybe not the top end talent isn't going to match up, but you're not going to drop off if someone goes down.
Sure. Yeah, and that was the big thing, and that's why, sure, I gave up a lot, as far as money for to build the team the way I did, but it also was where I kind of noticed some gaps in in talent, just very thin in the minors, where the only way to really add a depth piece. And while continues to transform and transpire over the season, I can't imagine that the 20 have here probably the 26 that finish with the team, because there's always moves out there.
And sometimes they happen when you're not even expecting them.
Yeah, that's when I would say that's kind of the Ariel deal, right? Right, kind of on the more or less on the eve of the beginning of the season. It wasn't necessarily I don't know if commission started the Sims yet for the season, or is it tail end of the off season, but it was one of those where it's just like, hey, there's this opportunity. It's like, all right, well, dive in, check my scout reports, check the gradings, like, makes sense. And numbers I saw were like, this should help me win ball games. And well, that'll happen. And, I have a feeling the pitching depth might be something that may in the long run have something pop my way, because I think that's where people may look at the depth, because they'll start looking at my AAA and be like, oh, there's extra pieces there, because that's really going to be big. I think that might be an underappreciated aspect of course, you don't know how the other scouts league-wide grade and, the reports that all the other GMs are going off of. I mean, tend to think they're relatively close, but it's just one of those things where if they dig deeper, and I need something here, maybe there's a deal to be made. I mean, I was talking with some guys throughout the off season, and some things materialized, a lot didn't. And I mean, that's the name of the game. I think you could see, especially looking at trade rumors in real life, like, oh, hey, this is happening. Yeah, not really. I mean, look at I think Aaron, or was it Arson Judge, I think, was going to San Francisco, and until he wasn't. So
I have found as one of the league's resident high volume traders, 80% of deals don't happen. Most of them were just, hey, this player, no, okay. Then you maybe talk about it a little bit, then you stop. But
Yeah,
if you're not always looking, you don't find those opportunities to get, like Florial, a guy you're very happy with, adding to your roster.
yeah, and it's just kind of funny how it comes up. Like, hey, we're looking at moving this. Do you have any interest? It's like, yeah. I mean, I think even talking, I wasn't sure. It's Attic, I think, with the Stags. I was like, even at the start, I wasn't sure there was anything to be had there. And well, we just started throwing player, and of course, sometimes you just come to that deal, and that's that one in particular is just, hey, what about this? Yeah, I can swing that. It's not gonna hurt me short term. Should help. Definitely in a building organization, going to help them probably both short and long in his case, and in mine, I don't think I necessarily mortgage too much of the of the future as well. That, and at the end of the day, thought the major league club got better.
While we're still looking at your pitching screen, I have wanted to ask you about Forrest Whitley. Whitley, ever since he suffered that big elbow injury a few years ago, has seen a big and continuing drop in his stamina. It's all the way down to an OSA 5. Obviously, scout ratings can look a little bit different. I know my scout has him at 1 point higher. Do you feel like at 5 stamina, that's not enough to be a rotation piece for you? Because that's something I've been wanting to ask you about.
So that also comes with a thing. I'm happy with him there right now. That's something that we'll see in time as it progresses, and move to be made, into a pen, for example. That's definitely something that can address over the course of the next few seasons. But at least at this point right now, I'm still planning to trot him out there almost every fifth or so day, until it just turns into an I can't anymore. And then, well, we'll see some shifting between the many starters that I could bounce through. So I think I got one or two in the bullpen right now. Pretty sure their morale would jump with a move back to the rotation.
Yeah, I don't know if John Duplantiers. Oh, John Duplantier is happy with it. All
Yeah, he's
right.
good right now, but in a month that might be different.
Yeah. Well, while we're talking on specific players, I did want to ask you: do you have any breakout candidates on your roster? Like on the offensive side of the ball, Johnny Burnitz is a guy who Aiden was really high on. Antonio Alvarez had a down year last year. Is there a guy in here or on the pitching staff who you feel is gonna really break out this season?
Yeah, I think one that I'm interested to see is Osiris Castillo, the shortstop. Definitely think he could, with a little deeper roster, make another step. Burnitz is good. I know there's people high on him already. I got asked about him a fair bit, but obviously that one not really going to go anywhere. So young, controllable piece.
You can break this news live. Did Aiden ask about him?
I'm sure he probably did. I mean, I talked with him about a few pieces, but but Castillo one I'm high on. I definitely think he'll be well. Burnett's obviously 25 years old. He's gonna probably give me a good run out as as a piece. As far as pitching goes, I think looking at the bullpen, a Connor Thomas might be ready to take that next step and really establish that, establish and take hold of that closer's role. If that happens, then it is going to work out like a dream. kind of where I had him penciled in going into the season. Maybe a little bit of a rush to get him out there, but I mean, he does have 3 saves for me already on the season. Duplantier taking hold as well. Would love to see get him going, because even in Oakland, I thought there was definitely a lot of potential, and hopefully a full season in Atlanta maybe can release the shackles off him a little bit, and he turns into something as well. But time will tell, and I think probably Thomas and Castillo are the two that I'm probably targeting as the as my breakout candidates. But I wouldn't be surprised, and I don't know if I want to give out the names to have people flocking to me about it. Wouldn't be surprised if there's a few arms from Gwinnett that might break out onto the scene here later in the season as well.
Ooh, okay. Well, this roster, like all around, we talked about the depth. We've kind of talked about a couple of the high-end pieces. From where the general consensus was among the podcast crews, especially when doing preseason predictions, I don't think anybody had the Atlanta within the top 2, and I'm not sure about top 3, but at least top 2 in the NL East. For you personally, do you feel like teams maybe are sleeping on Atlanta? Do you think we have you pegged correctly? Where do you think you're going to end up this year?
I mean, the moves I made were not to be second to fifth in the East. They're obviously to finish in one spot and one spot only. But that's why you play the game. Not really worried if I'm picked fourth, fifth, wherever in the NL East they have me. But just trying to find these pieces and continue to unearth guys and surprise people. I guess if everyone wants to have me down the list a bit, that's fine. I have no problem. I mean, let's be real. I started out this eMLB journey on literally the bottom.
Yes.
So, I don't think I'm going to be that worried about people questioning where or predicting me in a lower spot than I think I might very well end up. So, obviously the moves I made, I'm trying to win the thing. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. If they're going to be the right moves, great. If they're not, well, we'll go along the way. And if there's a move to fix things, then we'll try and fix things and keep the train moving in the right direction. So, but definitely think I have the pieces to hopefully make the dance at the end. And then once we get there, well, you never know.
All you got to do is make the playoffs. That's all you got to do, and then from then on out, anything can happen. So are you more of a bulletin board material guy? Like, oh, these guys don't expect it, I'm going to use it to motivate myself, or you just tune it out, just go whatever. You think that?
Well, I've kind of been on the fringes ever since joining. It seems to be working for me, because I think I came in and got a few pieces that I added that I don't think people maybe necessarily thought I would go after. Forrest, of course, being one, but yeah. So we'll just let the chips fall where they may. No big bold proclamation. I'm not trying to be Joe Namath or anyone here, but but obviously the goal, 31 other teams, is to finish on top at the end.
I'm rooting for you to do that. I mean, I'm really enjoying the competition level in the NL East. This division kind of got talked down a little bit in the preseason, but there's a lot of good characters in that division.
Yeah, it's going to be a battle. I definitely wouldn't have minded a team like, say, a Philly get off to a little slower of a start, so I could enjoy that buffer a little bit. But through 6 games at this point, I'm pretty happy where we are. So
I see
can't really complain too much about
WWW.
Yeah, a lot of W's against that team with a W.
Yes. Normally, you'd be thinking if you have the team with a W logo, right, you'd be the one winning.
Yeah, you'd think so, but thankfully it went my way instead of theirs. So
two big division series at homes, and you can sweep them both. Looking forward, you face Philadelphia, then Montreal, and then you get your first taste of interleague action against Kansas City, Philadelphia again, and then New York. So there's a lot of division games early on. Do you feel like it's important for you to get off, to continue this hot start of yours, to maybe get like a leg up?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, of course, you want to stack as many W's against the division you can early, and then that way it should set you up to be able to weather a fallback a little bit when the inevitable slump happens. So if we can continue the home stand hot, that would be an ideal way to start the season. But the division's not going to be easy. That's for sure.
I do have one more question for you. It is on that note right there. Of your 7 division opponents, which are the ones that worry you the most? Which ones do you feel like are your strongest competition?
I mean, to be completely honest with you, I'm a bit more worried about just how things go with Atlanta. Not really looking. I know that might sound cliche for everyone else, but in my case, just kind of ramping up and still getting used to the league as a whole is. I got to make sure my own house is in order before I worry about anyone else. I think, I know Washington's been a steady contender. Philly, it's Philly. They got money, so they're going to be. I'm sure they'll be in there as well. So the one I've already faced and had a great series against. One is they're next. So see where that goes, and as we get through that first road trip, hopefully have a better idea of how the ship is going to go, even though we wouldn't even be a month in yet. But I definitely think knowing Washington's always there, definitely any of those traditional NL East teams, I think there's not really a small market there except maybe a Miami, which that might be the one you don't necessarily peg to be a top flight team. But I mean, you go on the virtual field, you play 9 innings, and there's no time limit, so you never know when someone can pop it up on you. And but even like in New York, it's I think it's going to be quite the cluster in the NL East, no matter which way it falls. I think a lot of teams got a lot better this offseason.
It's probably the division, maybe not the most exciting division, but it's one of the ones I'm more excited to see how they play out, because it's unlike the NL West and the AL West, where it's very clear who's at the top, and the AL East is very clear at the top. The NL East is much more up for grabs.
Yeah, and I think you could look 1 to 7 and maybe say 6 out of the 7 teams, right? I think that's how many are in it, but
to 8.
8. So 7 of the 8 teams, I'd say maybe not Montreal this year, but I think it could be it could be a 7, or you never know. The Expos could be like the Vegas Golden Knights when they came into the NHL and decided to go on a fairy tale run. So
I think Kenny would like that a lot.
You never know what's going to happen, especially 6 games in, no real need to be super excited, but definitely it looks a lot better with a 6 in the win column and a 6 in the loss column. That's for sure.
100%. And I appreciate that you're not overreacting, but I can tell you're a little excited.
I mean, who wouldn't be? You start the season on a hot run, but I know from watching, it's not about the beginning. You can get out to that early run, but if it's not sustained, it's going to be it could turn into a bit of a rough season. So I just got to try and keep it even and go from there.
Get out of April, you're good to go.
That's all I can hope for.
Well, man, I really appreciate you coming on here. It was awesome getting to talk to you. It's an awesome getting to hear from you. I'm really rooting for you to do good this year. It'd be nice to see you at least finish above the Reds, so that way we can all get talk some trash on Jared. Well, the outro is always a bad part. It's the part that I'm the worst at. I'm gonna own it. This has been another episode of The Whip. Andrew, our editor, takes care of everything. He will have all links below in the description. Join up with the eMLB if you can. If you're not already in the Discord server, it's awesome. We have a ton of really good stuff going on there. There's articles, there's podcasts like this. We have a whole bunch of shows and commish streams on Twitch. So check us out if you can. If you're just finding us here on YouTube, for everybody who already knows what's up, I've been Brenden, eMLB's Baltimore Orioles GM. Kenny from Atlanta. Peace.
Have a good one.